Hello internet friends, on this channel I've had immense fun talking about what it's like getting back into collecting as an adult over the past 6 years. Before this I probably picked up my last action figure in my late teens, early 20s, about the time of the Phantom Menace, as I got really hyped for the prequel Star Wars movies. Then I saw the prequels and the rest is history. But until 6 years ago, I had not collected throughout my adult life. There was nothing on my walls, no adornment, no sense of who I was as a person. I'd gone almost entirely digital. You would need to hack my computer to get any sense of who I am. Side note to hackers, please don't hack my computer. All of this changed about 6 years ago when I thought, I used to have these things all around me that I liked. Why don't I have those anymore? Because I'm meant to be a grown-up. I don't know. You get to a point in life and you think, being a grown-up is not all it's cracked up to be. And I miss having those things that brought me happiness. That's when all this started to happen. Ever since, I've been happier in my day-to-day being surrounded by these things that mean something to me. For whatever reason, it's toys. I guess I'm one of the suckers that got caught up in Saturday morning kids' cartoons and the boom in toy marketing in the 80s. Toys became the gateway to imaginative worlds and characters, and they still trigger a sense of excitement and possibility for me today. So like I say, I've documented what it's been like on this YouTube channel getting into collecting, and I've learned a ton in the process. It's been an education. But that means I've also been doing it long enough now to experience shifts in my focus over time. Things you thought you might like to collect, but you've had second thoughts about, lines you jump into that get discontinued, and eventually I've ended up with a fair few things that I don't want anymore, and a collection that, because of those things, was kind of annoying me a little bit. Sounds weird to say. I'm the sort of person that doesn't want things around me that I'm not inspired by anymore. As I picked up new things and I put the old into storage, I had this growing sense of a mound of trash mounting up in my loft. I mean, it's not trash. Some of it might be exactly what someone else is looking for, but it started to feel like a burden. I would have to move it on at some point. It also represented a lot of wasted money. Despite toy collecting being the dictionary definition of wasting money, I didn't like the sense of having bought something in error. Which brings us to the point of this video and the change that has occurred for me recently. I'm now a person who sells things on eBay, and if you're thinking about giving it a go, or if your inner self is giving you grief like mine was, I'm here to tell you it's not such a chore after all. You might even find yourself enjoying it. It's a whole new skill set, and I found myself taking pride in doing it well. I take nice, informative photos. I don't use generic, impersonal AI descriptions for items. I answer customer questions promptly, and I package things well. And the sense of achievement you get when a satisfied customer leaves a review is a lot like receiving those nice comments on YouTube. I never suspected any of this. I really thought it would be all a chore. It's actually another string to my bow, and it can be very rewarding. I've known in theory that my collection might be worth a bob or two, but there's a difference between theory and practice. Now I have this sense of relief knowing that if push comes to shove, I can recoup some of that money that I've, in quotes, wasted. We can never really know what the future holds after all. What if I needed money desperately? These videos have taught me there are people out there with similar interests, but selling to those fellow collectors has really hammered the point home for me. There are lots of people out there who value the same things I do. The knock-on effect is that I no longer feel so guilty about spending money, and in some cases even making a profit, as things naturally appreciate in value over time. I'm not out to scalp anyone, but if something's been in your loft for 5 years and it's become hard to find at retail, it will naturally fetch more on the secondary market. I even did some light speculating when I first started collecting and bought 2 of a few things, just to see what might happen in the future. It turns out reissues don't go up in value the way vintage toys do. Not enough time has passed, but really it's more to do with the fact that all adult collectors are thinking the same thing. Whereas as kids, no kid thinks that their toys will be worth anything in the future, so they don't keep them. Still, you might get a tenner more than you paid for something, and that's a coffee and a sandwich at Starbucks. Probably just the coffee, actually. And even if you don't make as many mistakes, in quotes again, as I've done with the things I've bought, I think most of us will find our priorities and interests shifting over time. I have. I'm not putting the fragile tape on this time, though. I'm not putting the thing that says fragile on this time, because I think it tempts people to chuck it across the warehouse. I started out thinking I would only ever be buying boxed or carded stuff for wall displays, or a tower of retro packaging, for instance. Then I got into collecting the Studio Series 86 Transformers, and I found those really needed to be appreciated out of the box for the increasingly impressive designs and articulation. I've no nostalgia for the branding with those figures, so that helps. But even within that niche, I've changed. Some of the things I bought, I wouldn't buy now. Coronation Street Star... Coronation Starscream, for instance. I never liked the Netflix-inspired texturing on him, and now that new Seekers are on the way, I wish he was gone for good. In fact, he already is gone, as I sold him last week. I don't think I'll miss the throne. It always seemed like a lazy pack-in and an excuse to resell the same figure. I think getting to grips with eBay or an equivalent site for selling unwanted figures is essential if you're collecting modern Transformers. To be honest, Hasbro are constantly upgrading or releasing new paint decos, and if you're not a completist, it all becomes too much very quickly. You've got to be able to move stuff on. You've got to have options there. I hadn't realized any of this when I first started collecting, and I think if I hadn't started selling at this point, I might have stopped the hobby altogether. I just couldn't justify the cost and the sense of accruing more and more stuff. So if you're starting to feel like I was, I'd say dip your toe into the waters of selling some of your collection and put some of those unwanted pieces up for sale. Even if it feels like a chore at first, you might find you actually enjoy the process. You might even make some friends doing it. It's quite exciting, for instance, seeing the interest in an auction and wondering whether you'll get potentially more than you paid. Sometimes you get less, and those are the breaks, but at least you got something for the money you spent, and it's all part of this selling minigame. I never would have guessed that being a long-term collector might involve the opposite, letting stuff go. But it certainly does involve that for me, and I don't think I would still be doing it if I hadn't discovered this. So I wanted to communicate it to you and say, it might be the key to your continued enjoyment as well, knowing that you can bring things into your collection and move them on, and you're free to do that without feeling burdened by an ever-increasing mountain of stuff. Let me know how you get on if you decide to give it a go. And if you're an experienced eBayer, I'd love to hear some of your top tips in the comments. Thanks for watching, guys. Not as many videos recently, I realise, but I've not gone anywhere, just posting when I've got something to say these days. So take care and catch you later.